So we're going to do a quick little overview of synchronizing audio and video in Adobe Premiere. The first thing we have to realize is that the way that we shoot, we turn the sound recorder on, we turn the camera on, and then we say the take number that is reading on the sound recorder as it goes into record. So the take that we want to work with today is the camera called it P1030304.MOV. We have no control over what the camera calls things, so that's just the way it is. So this is what that particular take looks like. We can listen to it. All right.
So you can always skip that one.
128. All right, so what we saw there was this is the camera audio is what we're listening to, and we heard that I slated it as 128. Now, the first thing we want to do is go and find the very beginning of this this clip where the slate came down. So let's hunt around for that. I'm going backwards along the source timeline, and I can see where the slate comes in. I'm going to just hit play with the space bar. 128. And you see that little light that pops on? That's a special little light that exists on this slate. Other slates may work similarly, but the nice thing about that particular slate, I'm going to use the back arrow. Use the back arrow again and again, is that this little light comes on when the slate comes down. And if we scooch back with the back arrow again, we see that little light on, and we do it one more time and we see it come off. So that light comes on for 2 frames when the clapper hits. Now, one weird thing about video cameras and film cameras is that if we continue to hit this back button and we're going back in time, we're going to see that it kind of looks like it had been closed for a couple frames. It actually hadn't been. The camera's just a little bit slow. It doesn't go nearly as fast as our eye does, and certainly doesn't go as fast as we can go when we're looking at it frame by frame. So our first job is to find the first frame of video where the clapper has come down. So I'm going to use the back arrow just to give us a little bit more room here. And I'm going to hit play one more time. And then I'm going to hit stop. And then I'm just going to back up using the back arrow to when that light first comes on. I've gone one too many too far going backwards, so I go forward 1, bloop, and that's my first frame. Now, I'm going to do this again because I'm going to show you a weird little thing about cameras. I'm going to go backwards just a little bitty bit. And then we're going to play 28. And I'm going to stop. Now I'm going to go back again, and we're listening again to the camera audio here, right? So we go backwards, and you hear that sort of sound. That is the sound of the slate, 1 frame at a time. And we're still going backwards. Now you hear that little click. That's the very first bit of the audio of the slate coming down. So I'm going to go 1 further backwards, and that's silence. So I'm going to go 1 forwards, and you hear that little click. That's the beginning of the sound of the slate coming down. But you'll notice when you're looking at the camera picture that it is not synchronized with the audio in the camera. This is, as far as I know, true about all cameras, all modern non-analog video cameras. They're all out of sync. Let's find out how much out of sync they are. I'm going to use the back arrow. That's silence. Front arrow. Okay, that's the first bit of click that we hear from the clapper coming down on the camera audio, but I'm going to go forward another. That's more, and the little light hasn't come on yet, so the light still hasn't come on, even though it looks like the slate is down. It actually hasn't quite reached the end of its travel, and it's that 3rd frame where the light comes on, which means that indeed the camera's audio inherently is off by 3 frames. This is just a parenthetical thing. You don't really need to know about it. Now I'm going to set an in point. All right, so note that we've gone, I'm going to go backwards and go forwards. Okay, so that is the first frame where the slate has come down. So I'm going to hit I to make that an in point. And then we're just going to drag this bad boy onto the timeline. Bloop. And now it's on the timeline, with the very, very first frame being the first frame of picture where the slate has come down. So now let's hit Control I and go and hunt for this audio. Since I nicely, very clearly said 128, and we heard it on the camera audio, and we hear it on the separate audio recorder audio, we can just open up, take 128. If we double click on 128 over here in the project bin, we get to see it here in the source monitor. Now take a quick little look at this. You can see instantly where the slate must be. It's that very first peak right here. Let's listen.
So we can at least get that one down.
128. And there you go. A perfect slate. Easy to find. I'm going to use the back arrow again to scooch backwards. And now I've scooched backwards past the beginning of it, so I'm going to go forward just one at a time. Good one. That's one more maybe. There we go. Can we zoom in? I think we can zoom in. Let's zoom all the way in. Now, as an audio editor, Premiere is a video editor. So we're not going to get right down into the individual sample. We can only get within about a 25th of a second. But let's go backwards one. And there's nothing going on there. Let's go forwards one. And that's where the beginning of this slate clearly happens. You can hear it goes tack. So I'm going to mark the in point right there using I. Now I want to bring that onto the timeline, and I want to synchronize it with the video. There's 2 ways I could bring this audio onto the timeline. I can insert or I can overwrite. So if I insert, let's just do that so you can see. Now look at the timeline, and I'm going to hit insert. Now what you see here is that the audio at the bottom, I'm pointing and I should be using the mouse, this audio has now inserted itself in front of this video and pushed all the video and audio from the camera to the right. That's not something we actually want to do, so I'm going to undo that. What we want to do is just overwrite the audio portion of this camera track and replace it with the mix from the separate audio recorder. So I'm going to use the overwrite button, which is also a period. You could just use the period to do that. Bloop. Now I have replaced that original camera audio. I'm just moving the playhead, and I've replaced it with audio from the separate audio recorder. I'm just going to hit play just to listen to it and make sure we're in sync. And we are in sync. So now we have picture from the camera and audio from the separate audio device. You'll notice here at the end, the audio goes on a little bit longer than the camera take goes. That's because I cut camera before cutting audio. It's an old habit. So I'm going to just grab the end of the audio, and I'm just going to move it a little bit to the left, and it'll snap nicely to the end of picture. And so now we have audio and video on this synced together. And I can save this project, and then I can go on and I can export this or put other clips in the timeline just doing exactly the same thing, synchronizing them up, and then I can have them all together. We can link them. In fact, if we select the audio and the video on this track, we can right click and then we can link them so that they'll, if I deselect and then select one of them again, I can move them both together, and it's a good time.